Let's go.
Let's go. Oh, no.
Do you want to?
Sorry. I'll let you.
Next one.
I'm excited and I feel relaxed and I'm ready to party. Let's say sorry. You don't need to do that. You don't need to apologize. It's a fucked up female habit. You don't need to be sorry for anything ever.
Can you guess what every woman's worst nightmare is?
I don't have rage issues.
I have nothing to prove to you.
When I'm good, I'm very good. But when I'm bad, I'm better.
I say when it comes to stardom and Lauren, there are no accidents.
Hi, Karen Peterson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Citizen Dame, the podcast where, again, we're fine. Everything's fine.
Here.
Yeah, it's just great. I am Lauren Humphries Brooks, and with me, as always, is Karen Peterson. Hello, Karen.
Hello.
So we're fine, as we said.
It's all fine.
Nothing to see here. It is the second week of January. Is it the second week of January? Yeah, it's the second week of January.
Yeah.
And here we are. How are you?
Oh, fine. I do have to say that as terrible as things are in the news, the fact that you just said it's the second week of January, I was like, oh, this is the fastest January we've had in a while.
I mean,
it's already a third of the way over.
Yeah. Like when this episode is going to be released, like, yeah, we'll be about halfway through January, almost exactly. So
yeah.
I mean, like
there's that.
There's that. Yeah, definitely. It's quite a time. That's all we can really say. I feel like every single year's been like, well, it's quite a time.
I saw a meme the other day that said, I would like to go back to living in precedented times.
Yeah, at this
point,
felt
that very deeply.
At this point, however, at the same time, like I feel like this is becoming precedented times. Like we've been doing this for so long, and yeah, well,
and it's true.
And I will say, so not to get too serious on this podcast about a comedy movie, on this episode about a comedy movie, but I've actually recently been reading a very good short book called A Short History of Transmisogyny. And it's an excellent text. It's about a little bit more than 100 pages long, really well written. But one of the things that it does is it actually goes into the history, as particularly talking about misogyny around trans people, particularly trans feminine, sorry, and trans feminine people. And one of the things with it that it's one of those things that sometimes makes me feel better about history and sometimes doesn't, but it's just so repetitive, right?
Yeah.
It's like reading, it's just like, yeah, it's the same fucking playbook, and it's been the same fucking playbook since like the 1700s. And in a certain sense, like I think that it being able to look back at history and to be able to say like, yeah, we can kind of see the trajectory of this, I find not comforting, but it's almost reassuring in that we can actually make changes. We do actually understand, like we can understand what is happening in some ways and be able to pinpoint it and talk about it and analyze it and know what we can do about it at the same time, and also know how far certain movements have come and how far things have changed, as well as understanding how much they remain the same. I don't know, I always find it a little bit I say reassuring that there is the sense of like we can actually make differences, and that's important to remember.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely true, and I love that you said that. And for myself, maybe this is gonna sound weird, but so I've talked about how I have anxiety. I have diagnosed anxiety disorder, and one of the strategies that I taught myself many years ago to cope when I'm really struggling with anxiety is to imagine, okay, how is this situation going to be a year from, like if it's a very specific thing that I'm worried about, what is this going to look like a year from now? What is this going to look like for 5 years from now? And most of the time, those things that I'm dealing with personally, it's like, oh yeah, in a year, this is going to not even matter. I'm going to forget all about this. It's not going to be important. Now, the times that we're living in, obviously, the things that we're dealing with now are still going to matter a year from now. But one of the things that I've started trying to do is take that strategy that I use for myself and apply it to history. And thinking about like every era, every time in human history, including now, people were living in a time that someone would eventually study as historical. And so when you think about the, you know, the wars that we've had, or plagues, or you know, just different eras where things are really horrible, we're studying that now as history, and people got through it. And maybe it was terrible for a really long time, maybe generations suffered, but eventually the world moved on. And so it's like, that's what I'm trying to think about too here, is like, eventually our country is going to figure this out. It just may take a really long time. And maybe that's not so comforting, but for me, it weirdly is. So
I think that it is, and I think that, you know, this kind of thing, we have a tendency to kind of doomsaying and doom scrolling and sort of sitting there being like, everything is terrible, it's never going to get any better. But one of the things that actually is a coping mechanism, and it's not like we're going to ignore it, it's just like, no, we're going to deal with it. But one of the things that is actually a coping mechanism is imagining the world in which it does get better. And that is something that you can do at an individual level, but also at a cultural and a social level. And, you know, one of the problems with doomsaying, doom scrolling, you know, doomerism generally, is that it puts everybody, a huge section of society, into this mindset of like, we can't do anything, nothing is going to change, it's just going to get worse, it's always going to get worse. And when things are bad, that's a really attractive thing to do, because it also kind of gives you a pass, right? It says like, well, everything's just going to get worse, so there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I should ever do, I'm just going to like lie on my bed and be depressed, right? And it's comforting almost in that sense. You just like lie down basically, and that is actually what fascism wants. Absolutely what fascism wants. It wants you to be in despair. There's we were talking before we started recording about fascist Germany and you know, pre-war Germany. But one of the things that you learn if you ever study German film of that period, both Nazi filmmaking and pre-war, sort of the Nazi period, but before it really became ingrained, before the war really started, one of the tactics was despair. And it was a particular kind of despair. It was this valorization of death. And this embracing of death. And because that was essentially what they were selling. They were like, we want you to go and die for us. And that despair is one of the things that fascists want everybody else to have. We want you to be in despair. We want you to not be able to resist. We want you to not eat well. We want you to not find joy. We want you to not be happy. Because, you know, you feeling happy and connected with your fellows is actually going to work against fascism. And so that in itself is really important. Finding that joy is actually really important in terms of resistance. And that's not the only important element. And that's not like escapism and checking out, but it is something that is important. So it's worth thinking about and considering. So on that note, speaking of joy, let's talk about honestly one of the funniest and most joyful films in a lot of ways ever made. Like, it really is hilarious. It's still funny. I've seen this film so many times, and I still like, there are bits that I've missed and like just scenes that I look forward to. It's one of those comedies where I'm like, this scene is coming up, I can't wait for it. You know, it's just like, I know that it's coming and it's exciting. So today we're going to talk about this is Spinal Tap from 1984, of course, directed by the wonderful Rob Reiner. And this is such a unique film in a lot of ways. It's hard to kind of find a film that does what this does so well. Like, that's part of it. Of course, it's directed by Rob Reiner. It stars Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer, and is technically written by all of them, including Rob Reiner, because the majority of the film is actually ad-libbed. Like it's most of it is improvised. Most of the dialogue is improvised, and which is amazing in itself when you watch the film. It makes sense, but at the same time, you're like, oh my god, these guys are just making shit up as they go along. And of course, it tells the story about the English rock band Spinal Tap, who are on their 1982 concert tour to promote their album Smell the Glow. And we learn all about Spinal Tap's past and their like musical trajectory, and we get to see like everything that goes on in their lives. It is a rockumentary, as Rob Reiner playing Marty DeBurgi says at the beginning of the film, and it is one of the funniest films ever made. So, Karen, really quick, what are your feelings about This Is Spinal Tap?
Well, I also want to mention that this is Rob Reiner's first feature film as director. So this kicked off his directorial career. And I will also mention that his final film was Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, which I also watched last night because I was just really curious. And so it's obviously it's unfortunate he was stolen from us and he should still be here, but it's interesting that his directorial career was bookmarked by these two films, and they really are just such joyful movies. They're so funny. You can tell, especially with the first one, you can tell that it's a bunch of guys that are friends making this movie together and just having such a good time. And yeah, they have obviously studied a lot of rock bands. They've obviously studied a lot of documentaries to really get the feel, the rhythm, how people talk. And then it's intercut with like them practicing. We see some of their songs. We see some of their biggest concert moments from their past, and then we learn about their their history with drummers, and then there's like a curse on them. And it's just what I love about This Is Spinal Tap really is all those things. It feels like it's a movie made by a bunch of friends who are very funny people who really love movies and who really love music and who really love each other. And how can you not enjoy that?
Yeah, and that improvisational technique also means that it does feel like a filmmaker interviewing a rock band, right?
Yeah.
It really does bring that sense of documentary, like of reality, right? And watching this time, there are a number of things that struck me again, and I think it's the kind of thing that struck me already, but rewatching it's just like, oh yeah, this is why this is so good. But yeah, it's exactly that. It's he asks them questions, and you get Michael McKean and Christopher Guest particularly kind of riffing off of each other and building up these stories that just get weirder but they do it like so deadpan in so many ways. Like it does feel like, yeah, this is like how John Lennon and Paul McCartney would answer these questions, or you feel like you've seen this before. And part of it is because you kind of have, like they reference a number of documentaries, including Bob Dylan's Don't Look Back. The big one is The Last Waltz, directed by Scorsese, about the band, and it feels like that. Like if you watch those films, just like, yeah, these guys, they're like, it's set up, it's an interview, or there's a specific purpose to all of it, but it feels like this is a filmmaker talking to a rock band, and they're kind of telling stories about their past, but they're also coming up obviously with these stories in real time.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to watch them do that. And yeah, well, and it's funny because like I'm sure both you and I saw this when we were way too young. I was only 7 when this movie came out. I did not see it in the theater, and I did not see it in 1984. I don't know when I first saw it, but definitely too young. And I did not know that this was fake. I thought this was a real band in a real documentary. And I don't know when I found out that it wasn't real, but I remember I was very shocked. I was just like, no, it's Spinal Tap. Like, they're real. Like, very confused. So, yeah.
Well, this has been an issue like throughout actually, because they've also released albums as Spinal Tap, right? They've appeared. I know there's an episode of The Simpsons where Spinal Tap goes to Springfield.
Yeah.
Like, and this has actually been a problem before of Spinal Tap, that like people have believed that this is an actual band. and that they like, and that this is a documentary about that band. And that's the other thing, they are an actual band. That's a part of it.
They became one.
Yeah, they became an actual band. And the origin of Spinal Tap was initially the fact that Michael McKean and Christopher Guest knew each other in New York City and played music together when they were in college. And then later on, they created like the sketch for a comedy show pilot called the TV show, and that was the origin of Spinal Tap. So they created Spinal Tap, and eventually began creating these actual characters and obviously, you know, this backstory and everything. And the film, as it were, plays it straight. So that, I think one of the things that is so good about this is Spinal Tap is that everybody is playing it straight.
Yeah.
This is true. This is about a rock band going on a tour. And like everything that happens, just like this is truth, right? And because of that, it feels so integrated. It is so funny. No one is taking the piss, as it were. No one is like being like, oh no, there's no winking at the camera at all,
right?
And that's what makes it so good and so funny, because you feel like it's just this ridiculous group saying ridiculous shit, like, you know, these all go up to 11 kind of thing. And it's just real enough. That's part of it. Just like, yes, some of these songs are so close to what bands were actually releasing in the 1980s.
Yeah.
You know,
like My Love Pump.
Yeah, like or that sort of combination. I kept on thinking of some of the interviews in The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, the Penelope Spheres documentary that actually focuses on metal bands. And some of the interviews just like, yeah, like this combination of hyper seriousness, just like we're artists and everything, and they're making up songs like Sex Farm, right? Like that's that kind of thing. And a lot of the music is good. It's catchy. It is, yeah, you kind of like, yes, I would totally rock out to this in concert. But then you listen to the lyrics, just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's just like that little turn of satire and parody that isn't like making fun of all of this all the time, and it isn't winking at the camera. It's not metatextual, but is just bizarre and outlandish and funny enough that you can laugh at it.
Yeah. Well, and so this mockumentary style, obviously, this was kind of the movie that really made that genre, like kind of that subgenre. And Christopher Guest, of course, he built his own directorial career on making those types of movies, with Best in Show and Waiting for Guffman probably being his two most famous, and also his best. And Michael McKean works on those with him, and like it's the same thing. And that's what makes him so good at this, is the fact that he takes these really talented actors, doesn't have a firm script, just kind of like, okay, here's the situation in this scene, go. And the characters are all playing it very straight. Like in Best in Show, they are taking their dogs, they are gonna win the dog show, you know. And they're very serious about it, and they're so good at convincing you that they're very serious about it. And that's what makes these movies work. And that's what makes This Is Spinal Tap work, is the fact that these stars, these actors, even the ones that pop in along the way, you have Fran Drescher, you have Bruno Kirby, you have Ed Begley Jr. Like when different people are popping in, everyone's part of it, and they're all taking it very seriously. They all know their role, and they're playing along perfectly. Nobody's breaking. Nobody is like, this is stupid. Everybody is just like taking it very, very seriously, and that's part of why it's just so perfect. It's really,
Well, like one of my favorite scenes is Angelica Houston. She shows up really briefly too. She's the one who she's the designer of the Stonehenge monument that's like 18 inches tall. And
it's
the
supposed to be huge, and
the whole conversation about that is hilarious. Because she's just like, this is what I was given. These are the measurements. This is what you told me to make. And just like, what is wrong with you? And like that entire conversation, just like, well, I don't know, I think maybe the problem was
it does say 18 inches on the napkin.
It does. It's like, maybe the problem is that the monument of Stonehenge was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf. Like all of that is just like, and so like, so even in that scene where they're having this big fight about the Stonehenge monument after that, right? And that scene is played straight. It's like, yes, this is just funny. There's no, like, you're laughing your ass off. Meanwhile, on screen, they're yelling at each other over this, right? They're getting into this massive fight. And it's just so well done, and it's so believable. It's like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And like you said, all of the actors, all of the like secondary characters that sort of kind of come in and out. Paul Schaefer shows up as he's a PR guy who is just fucks up everything basically. Like Ed Begley Jr. briefly appearing, I think, is their first drummer.
Yeah.
I forget what happens to, I think, explain he died in a strange gardening accident, I think is what they say.
Yeah, like all their drummers die, and none of them even die in a normal way. It's always something really crazy.
Yeah, like one of them spontaneously combusted on stage
when I was rewatching it, and I heard that. Yeah, and I heard that line, I was like, oh, this is why I was afraid of spontaneous combustion.
I love that line. You're just like, dozens of people spontaneously combust every year. You just don't hear about it. Yeah, and then like at one point, I think Marty interviews their current drummer, and it's like, "Are you worried?" About like, and I think his response is that the law of averages is that he's going to survive. But just all of that is so clever and like and bizarre, because you're just like, wait a minute, go back here. What do you mean all of their drummers have died in freak accidents?
Yeah. So
the other thing is that this was filmed with primarily handheld 16 millimeter cameras, and sort of this cinema verite style, which again contributes to that experience of like, this is a real documentary about a real band. And I guess that even one of the things that they wanted to do in bringing in known actors was to sort of hammer home the fact that this is not a real band, right? These are actors playing a part. And some people just didn't realize or didn't notice that Angelica Houston was there. Playing someone completely different. The other thing is that they actually used elements from like stories that they had been told, elements from like concert events and stuff like that, and they incorporated that. So the scene of them getting lost backstage was based on Tom Petty at a venue in Germany. He got lost backstage and ended up at an indoor tennis court, right? I guess that that there was a keyboard player, the Uriah Heep keyboard player, had told them about a tour where they were booked to play an Air Force base, and you think about Uriah Heep playing an Air Force base. And again, it's just like, this is the worst idea in the world.
Yeah.
So, but you've got all of those little elements that are incorporated that make it feel like, this is reality, right? This feels real. So
Yeah, they put a lot of care and thought into, and that is why this works so well, and why it's had the longevity that it's had, is because it really is believable. As we've talked about, it really is believable as an actual documentary. And then you have Rob Reiner inserting himself as the director of the movie. He's also playing a role as Marty DeBurgi, the director of this documentary, and so it's him interviewing the band, and it's all done in such a way that feels like a real rock documentary, or any documentary about artists. And there's a lot of crowd shots. They talk to fans a couple of times, and it all really builds this very realistic world but none of it would work if it wasn't for the extremely talented leads that we have here. Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer are all so gifted at improv, and if any of them messed it up, then this whole thing wouldn't work. But they're all so good, and they play off of each other so well, that it ends up becoming like this perfect comedy, this perfect example of a mockumentary. And it also just really feels like just a trying to avoid using the overused term, a love letter, but in some ways it feels like a love letter to rock and roll and rock documentaries and music documentaries, and yeah, I love that.
No, I agree with that. I think that we've talked before about some of the best satires and parodies, stuff like that. Like Young Frankenstein is a good example, and it's a similar era, right? That is that love, that affection for what they're kind of not really mocking, but sort of gently ribbing, right? Like it's sort of teasing about, right? Just like, okay, these sorts of stories and things like that, they're silly in some ways, but there's also a love for them and a love for the music. And even, watching this, at a certain point, they show like the different covers of Spinal Tap's albums. And again, I'm like, these could be real albums. Like they're not that ridiculous.
Yeah.
So over
they're ridiculous, but they're not that far-fetched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not so far over the line that you're like, no, I can, I've seen heavy metal covers like that. I've seen rock, particularly again that era of rock, the late 70s, early 80s, and that's part of what makes it work as well as it does. That I like the whole conversation about the Smell the Glove album cover, because we never actually see the album cover.
We don't, right? But we get it described enough that we don't need to see it.
Yeah, and at the same time, and watching him, just like, I mean, it's like, it's offensive. It's just like, yeah, it's offensive, but also like I could there's definitely been album covers like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, Sabrina Carpenter has one that's like, what are we doing? Girl, it's 2025.
In watching that, like in watching this, I was just like, was Sabrina Carpenter referencing this movie? Because maybe I feel like she was. Because
she might have, and nobody got it. I don't know.
Is that ever asked about?
Yeah. Well, but I love how with that album cover, they have this whole conversation about why it's offensive, and that it's like, oh, this is very sexist, this is misogynist, whatever. But if it would be okay if we reversed it and we were the ones that had to, So I love that conversation. It's like, this is in 1984 and they're having this conversation about stuff that we're still dealing with now.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. 40
Yeah,
years later.
no, exactly. Well, but it is that kind of like, oh well, she doesn't like at one point I think one of them says she doesn't like have to smell the like it's not like we're forcing her. It's just like
Uh-huh.
it's and at one point one of them uses the like it's a joke. It's supposed to be a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh
Oh man.
yeah, it's all all of that, all of those little elements that go into it. And I do have to say that like one of the things I think that makes this movie work as well as it does, you do have this fantastic cast of really talented people, but you've also got Rob Reiner, he grew up in comedy,
Mm-hmm.
right? He like has a very long as a child, as an actor, as part of his family, and then finally as a director. So he really does seem to understand, and this like goes through his entire career. He understands comedy beats. He understands also, I think, how to direct comedians and what to allow them. He lets these guys go. He lets them talk. He prompts them. You can hear, particularly in the interview sections, you can hear him sort of riffing off of their riffs
Mm-hmm.
and sort of yes-anding them and kind of pushing them to keep talking. And I'm certain that there are like whole takes and like long conversations that just never wound up in the film, obviously, and
I
that
would
probably
love
went
to
off the
see some
rails.
of those.
And they probably went off the rails, or just like they just wound up talking about shit. Just like, what the fuck are we doing at this
Uh-huh.
point? But you've got a director who obviously understands comedic beats and how to work with comedians and how to let them cook, let them do their thing, right? And then when also to redirect and when to cut finally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it also comes from knowing them so well. Like they
Yeah.
all knew each other, so he knew when they had more and when they didn't, and yeah, I love that. I will say, and I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about the sequel, and I don't want to give away stuff about the sequel, but one of the things I really appreciated about it is that it feels like it again feels like a real uh second part. Like it's just made 40 years later. I'm catching up with the band that stopped performing together, and now we're trying to, we're bringing them back together for one last show, and they're all scattered to the wind. They all live in different places, and so it's Marty going around and talking to people and catching up with them. And on the subject of just how talented they are, McKean and Shearer and Guest, like all three of them, they really do just just embody the role of these aging rock stars who probably did way too many drugs and also can't hear that well because they were playing such a like they're the loudest band in England, and they're just kind of doing their own thing, and they're kind of burnt out now, and they're so good, and it's so believable that yeah, this is where all three of these guys would end up. It's very funny, like what they're doing now is funny, but it just feels like the natural, like yeah, this is how this turned out for them. And so I would say, I know that some people thought that, a lot of people said the sequel was like, oh, it's an unnecessary sequel, and sure, most movies are unnecessary. That doesn't mean that we don't enjoy them. And so I actually was quite delighted with the sequel, which, as you mentioned, it turned out to be Rob Reiner's final film. So
Yeah.
do it for
Yeah.
Rob. Watch it.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it. Like I thought about going to see it when it came out initially in theaters, and then I just didn't wind up doing it. But yeah, I think I might watch it today or later
Yeah.
on today or something like that. But that's the other thing. I think that this film takes such a that recognizable trajectory. Like the band, they don't break up, but Nigel like loses his shit and walks off stage, and him and David are like in this constant conflict with each other. And you get those Beatles elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like these two guys who've known each other for a really, really long time since they were kids,
Since you
and
were
have
5
been,
years old.
yeah, have been like writing songs together forever, have been playing together forever. And then, there's like one of them doesn't like one of their girlfriends, and there's all of this conflict, and like they're going slightly different musical directions. And then they're finally like, have this falling out with each other. And it's such a classic arc for, a rock documentary. But it still ends in this wonderful triumphant place of like they're actually really popular in Japan right now. And they go on a Japanese tour, and everybody loves them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really
so good.
it's really pleasant. Like it's just so much fun to watch. So like, are there any particular scenes that for you just stand out as like, oh, this is the best, this is my favorite scene?
It happens a couple of times, so I wouldn't say that one of them is my favorite, but there's a couple of scenes where Marty is interviewing them and they're outside in this garden sitting at this table and they're just telling stories. And I just love listening to those. Like those stories, they just get wilder and wilder and they're so funny. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that too. I love the musical numbers, honestly. Like I really like the strange rock songs these guys
What
produce.
song did you get stuck in your head this week, Lauren?
I had Big Bottom stuck in my head for 3 days. It's still kind of there. And then I listened to the whole song because I was like, maybe if I just hear the entire song again, I will get rid of it. But now I just know more lyrics. Yeah. So it's a good song.
Yeah.
It's catchy. It's a catchy song.
It really is.
It's a really catchy
song. It really is.
Yeah, I love those. And honestly, one of my favorite little bits, and obviously these all go up to 11 is classic.
Oh yeah.
But
one of my people who've never seen the movie know that scene.
Yeah, but one of my favorite little bits is where they're complaining. I think it's Nigel complaining about the charcuterie at the backstage and can't figure out how to like eat the full-size meat with the little bread. And
yes,
like folding it. It's just like, well, no, then we just fold.
But I want the whole bread.
I like, what is this? It's just like, see, big bread. You want big bread? I want big bread.
Yes. So good.
I just like it's so stupid and it's so petty. And that's the things that all like watching is just like, these guys are idiots. Like they're not, they're so stupid. And yet they're so lovable at the same time. Like when they break up, I'm like, no, but you guys are best friends. You gotta make music together. It's just like, dude, like who's gonna do this? It does like make you so affectionate for them while at the same time being like, you're so dumb.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, now I can't wait for you to watch the second one.
I do. I definitely want to watch the second one. Now talking about it more, I'm like, oh yeah, I really want to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love these guys. I love these actors, and yeah, and I love Rob Reiner.
Yeah, and
honestly was making me really sad watching these this week and seeing him and how much love and joy he had for what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking what happened,
Yeah, it's incredibly sad. And again, particularly for someone who has, I think Carrie always said something about this, about like who's brought so much joy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad for anybody, but someone who's brought so much joy and has, and I think that that's good to remember as well, that we have these films and that his legacy is there as well. But it shouldn't have ended there.
Right. Yeah. But it also does make me think, like, he built his career was founded on Spinal Tap. And I think for like, I don't know, I obviously he wouldn't want to go out the way that he did, but I suspect that if he knew that his last film was going to be the sequel to Spinal Tap, he'd be okay with that, that bookend of his career. But he should still be.
He should, but yeah, that's the thing. That's always the thing. But I will say one of the other little things I really like about this film is that it implies that Spinal Tap have been like going since the 1960s. and we get like several musical subgenres
Yeah.
throughout. So we get like the sort of Beatles, Kinks, early Rolling Stones, kind of give me some money early on, and then we get like the Flower People in the mid 60s, and then you like get into like heavy metal and sort of arena rock and that kind of thing. And I love that it's just implied that these guys keep on changing according to whatever the ascendant musical genre is.
Yeah, it's so true.
And I really like that. It's fun and it's well done too. That's the other thing. All of the songs are like, yep, I've heard that song before.
Yeah, it totally fits in with that era. Yeah.
So any other thoughts, any final things you want to talk about Spinal Tap?
Oh my gosh, just if you haven't watched it lately, watch it again. And if you've never seen it, what are you doing with your life? Like, go watch this movie. It's just so good.
It is one of those films that you can watch over and over and over again and not get bored by it. Like I say, like there were times where I was like catching lines that I hadn't caught before.
There's stories that I'm like, oh my gosh, did they just insert this? Like, is this a new edit?
Yeah, like commentary that I didn't, I just missed, or like lines, stuff like that. And then also just anticipating some of those scenes, just like, ooh, I know what's coming next, and I really enjoyed this scene. It's such a rewatchable film, and it's very rich, I think, in a lot of ways.
Someone I follow on Letterboxd, he said there's such a fine line between stupid and clever, and that is so true, and that is exactly what this movie does, and it really knows how to be clever and not stupid.
It's true. It is true. And sometimes they're just stupid.
Oh yeah, but there's a cleverness in the stupidity.
It's cleverly stupid. Like
yes. Oh, the wigs. I love the wigs.
The clothing, like the tight pants. I gotta say, like, I rewatched it. It's just like, you know what? Young Michael McKean could get it. I'm gonna admit that.
I love Nigel.
I love all of them, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nigel's great. Like the whole thing with the guitar, and like just listen to it. Just like, well, I can't. Well, you would hear it if it was playing. It's famous for its sustain. I just like.
Oh my gosh.
So much fun.
That was so good.
So I believe that This is Spinal Tap is available on...
It's on Max.
It's
like
on
HBO
Max,
yeah.
And it can also be rented. And for some reason, I do not own it, and I should.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't either.
Yeah. So definitely, like Karen says, if you have not seen it recently, rewatch it. If you've never seen it, my God, go watch it immediately. Like, please. All right, so I think that is going to close this out for this week. And next week, we are going to finish out our Rob Reiner month with Stand By Me, which I have not seen in ages either. So that'll be a fun movie to revisit.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be off for a little while because I believe that Karen is off to Sundance.
That is correct.
Yes.
So we'll be off for 2 weeks, and then we'll be back in February.
Yes, indeed. So
and then you'll be gone.
And then I'll be gone for a little while, and I'll be back, and I won't know where I am at that point. So you get to have that fun. I'm like, I don't know what day it is.
Good times.
And of course, we want to thank our wonderful patrons who keep the show going, and they include Abby, Audra, Brian, Connor, Estefania, Ferdinand, Heather, James, Judy, Carriata, Matt, Michelle, MK, Monty, Nanina, Noel, Robert, Roxy, Steve, and Sharon. Thank you so much for contributing and for supporting us, you guys. We do have a bonus series that we've started up, and so we're doing the series A League of Their Own, which is such a good series on
so
crime.
good.
and we're chatting about that, and that's only available to our patrons. So please like go to Patreon and join their number, and you get to listen to that. So our Patreon is patreon.com/citizendame. And we also have our Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/citizendame. And you can check out our website, that's citizendamepod.com. You can also get in touch with us in a multitude of ways. We are on Gmail, that's citizendamepod@gmail.com. We are also on Instagram and Blue Sky @citizendamepod and Letterboxd @citizendame. And of course, you can get in touch with us individually. Karen, where are you?
I am on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at Karen M. Peterson.
And I am on Instagram and Letterboxd @LH Business. So that will close us out for this week. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
Your first drummer was
the Beeper.
John Stampy Pepys.
Oh, yeah.
Great, tall, blonde geek with glasses.
Yeah. Good drummer.
Great look, good drummer.
Good drummer.
Fine.
What happened to him?
He died. He died in a bizarre gardening accident some years back.
It's really one of those things. It was, the authorities said, best leave it
not
unsolved, really.
And he was replaced by
Stumpy Joe. Eric Stumpy Joe Childs.
And what happened to Stumpy Joe?
Well, it's not a very pleasant story, but he died. He choked on the official explanation was he choked on vomit.
It was actually someone else's vomit. It's not
ugly.
There's no real.
Well, they can't prove whose vomit it was. They don't have facilities in Scotland Yard to print.
You can't really dust for vomit.